the Communist Party of China. It's a totalitarian government. That's been our position, still is our position, probably always will be.
Not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China.
Kung flu. Name me a world leader who changed places with Xi Jinping. Name me one. Name me one.
Look, he is. I mean, he's a dictator in the sense that he is a guy who runs the country that.
And we are live again, one more time. I'm sorry for the time, people. There's 3 time zones here. I'm in Italy, Li Jingjing in Beijing, China, and you guys are going to watch us, I don't know, from Portugal, Brazil, and it's going to be early morning. I'm sorry about that. But you should be used. That's how the channel works, chaotic as usual. Li Jingjing, my good friend, my great friend, once again in the channel. Thank you very much for accepting this invitation. It's an honor and a big pleasure. Ni hao. I forgot. Ni hao.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to appear on your show again. I'm very happy to join you, to see you again after such a long time, right? At least over a year.
Over a year, yes. It was, well, my, who I call the internship on the channel. I referred to her like that, was not even being made yet. Now she's, a big gal. Yeah, it's amazing to have you back here. We were supposed to meet some months after the first time, but as I explained to you, my life got complicated and I lost a lot of contacts on the meantime there. So everybody just remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel if you like. Subscribe to Li Jingjing's channel. It's all in the description as usual. You know the drill. You already know the drill, guys. And she has an amazing show called Take It Out with Li Jingjing. Fantastic. Also on Instagram, her shorts, well, Instagram is called Reels, right? I was just talking to her that I hate Instagram. And you guys know that I hate Instagram. I don't have to say that every time. But yeah, her Reels on Instagram are very good, excellent quality. And now she's adventuring on a new phase of her career, which is stand-up comedy. And I was watching her stand-up comedy today, and I was laughing hard. I don't know. Is the kind of humor that I like. Punch in the face, just like that. Jingjing, please tell us about the Jingjing show and your stand-up piece. Where did your channel was always very humorous, and I like that. But tell us just a little bit, how did you decide to adventure yourself on this very difficult public?
Thank you so much for introducing all my platforms. Thank you so much. As you and many of our viewers know, I'm a journalist in China. I've been covering all the major international news for like past over 10 years. So I recently, just starting from last month, I did my first stand-up ever. And it's also about politics, about the major international politics, particularly under the United States. And why I decided to do a stand-up? First, it feels like first, when you look at the world news, the world news is a comedy itself already. With Trump being the president of the United States, like, I mean, he gave so much inspiration for comedians all around the world. Every day there's some new information. You start to wonder, serious? So there's so much comedy there, material already there. So like, okay, let's take advantage of that. And second, it's also, I feel like it's a place for my rich dump. with what's going on, like U.S. imperialism, Western imperialism, I have so much rage over a lot of things, over the colonialism, over the how the West, the arrogance treats the global South. So I mean, I need to let it out. So comedy is a perfect way to dump all your rage. So far the show is doing okay. I didn't know whether my viewers, audiences will like it, will accept it, because comedy is a very difficult thing, and I'm an
It
outsider.
is.
So I don't know whether it's okay, but so far the comments are good. Viewers are very open-minded, give me a lot of compliments to encourage me to continue. And like you said in the beginning, before we started the live stream, you said you laughed so hard. That's a huge encouragement for me. I know that makes a lot of people laugh. Then maybe I'm doing something right, and I would continue to improve my performance, my script, my comedy style. So hopefully in the future we can bring more stand up to see the world news in a funny way.
Yeah, no, to be very honest, I'm not, I said it before, I'm not flattering yourself. It was hilarious. It was very smart, not easy. Not easy.
Mm,
People that like his easy humor, not at all. Very smart piece, very funny. You know, the punchlines
thank
were
you. Thank you.
amazing, amazing. I, I was really not expecting that. You know, we met and I know that you have a good humor. We talked here. The last show was, I had a fun time. You look like you have a fun time as well. Uh,
Yeah.
but that I was not expecting that well, to be very
Mm,
honest. And I was
mm,
laughing very hard on that. Of course,
mm,
first time is a first time. You know, I imagine
mm.
your legs shaking on nervous by being there, standing in front of all those people, not knowing. You know, as you said, a comedy is very hard and
Yeah.
very cruel as well. If
Yeah,
you're not
yeah, it's
doing
different
well,
from hosting shows. It's different from broadcasting news on camera. Like I got used to camera, but still, comedy, making people laugh is difficult, and you had to make sure what you said is facts. And people, audiences will be very honest. If they don't think it's funny, they will just keep a deadpan face, and that's breaking your heart. Like, oh my god, that's like sabotaging your esteem. So I mean, you need to be extra courageous to do comedy. But yeah, if all of you, I hope our viewers can give it a watch. Go to my channel, watch it, and leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about this stand up. If you think it's okay, I will continue to do it and improve the scripts and my performance. Yeah, like there's so much jokes on the world news already, so let's laugh at them together.
plus it's not your first language. You
Yeah.
did it in English. It's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
perfectly said. Perfectly said. One thing is to talk to the camera, and at some point, you don't care if it's funny or not because you're not seeing. Perhaps people. I put in my mind, yeah, people is laughing. I don't care. I am laugh. I'm gonna laugh. So if probably sometimes I get some smileys on the chat. That's
Hmm.
that's enough for me. Okay, I did a good job. Sometimes don't, but I think nonetheless. Fantastic. I'll put the link of the video on the description. I hope people go there and watch it. It
Thank
was
you.
really 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 good. I enjoyed it. I'm not being whatsoever flattering for that. So let's start talking about serious stuff. Well,
Okay.
some of them not always serious, but let's do some serious stuff. And I will start with something that I've been wanting to talk to you for such a long time already, which is your visit to Rio de Janeiro and your cover of the G20 meeting on Rio de Janeiro. And I think it's very important for people to understand uh, um, how people portrayed Brazil in Rio de Janeiro. Of course, it's Rio de Janeiro, not the entire Brazil, on a special moment. So I would like to know about your impressions on Rio de Janeiro, on your, welcoming? How was you treated? Did you enjoy the place? Did you enjoy your time there?
Hmm. Of course. So I went to Rio last year during the G20 summit. I was a reporter there to cover the bilateral events. So I had such a good time in Brazil. It was my first time to visit Brazil ever, first time to fly to South America from China. Such a long journey. It's probably the longest journey ever. Combined over 30 hours. I had the worst jet lag ever, but still I had the greatest time in Brazil because everybody is so friendly. um, I know Brazil is a very diverse country with different cultures, different races. So I try to interact with different people to get this real understanding of Brazil. So I don't know whether some of the viewers have watched my video. I did a dance challenge in Brazil just because I went to the streets and approached people from different ethnic backgrounds. There are some different indigenous groups, different people. I approach them and try to learn different iconic Brazilian dances, and every one of them taught me something. So I really like that experience. I try to. I know a lot of. I don't speak Portuguese, and I know a lot of Brazilians don't speak English. But dance and music is the common language. So I really love it without the language, even with the language barrier. I still communicate with like the most of them, like different group of them, different ethnic backgrounds of them, and showcase this dance styles from Brazil to audiences both in China and in different countries. So I love it. And I feel like there are a lot of similarities between China and Brazil. For example, China and Brazil both have awesome food. We have very similar taste. Seriously, Brazil is one of the foreign countries that I go to. Like, oh, okay, I can live there for a longer time because the food is tasty. It's quite similar to our food. There are meat, there are alcohol, there are spices.
A lot,
So yeah,
a
there's some.
lot as well.
Yeah. So these are the things very crucial for Chinese to live in other countries, and Brazil make it very easy. So I love it. One bad takeaway from my experience in Brazil is I constantly want to have caipirinha again. So
A
this is the
caipirinha.
yeah caipirinha. I mean like
That's
that mean it tastes so good. So like from time to time in Beijing, I was like, where can I find a caipirinha again? So I constantly want to have this Brazilian alcohol. So sometimes I ask my Brazilian friends, can you bring me some cachaça from Brazil when you come back? Yeah. So in general, I really enjoyed my stay, and you can see people are very welcoming, very open-minded, very happy people. Honestly, they're so happy people. My local friends took me to some samba party to see the vibrant samba music and dances. It's very vibrant. So honestly, Brazil is a really great place, and I do hope more Brazilian people can bring that culture to China. In China, I do see a growing trend of Latin American culture. For example, like Mexican restaurants or Cuban dances, Dominican dances, or all these schools or restaurants are growing. The numbers are growing in China in different cities, but there's a lot lack of Brazilian culture presence here. I don't see samba dance schools. There's one Brazilian barbecue restaurant in Beijing, just one. Well, there are like a bunch of other Mexican, Latin American restaurants. So maybe that's something we can work on, just to have more Brazilians move to China, bring their vibrant music, dance cultures, and food cultures to China. So to help more Chinese to understand Brazil as well.
Yeah, that's very well put there. I've been to Brussels last year, uh, and in the hotel I went down to the bar, and I met a Chinese guy, and business person most likely. So I imagine a business person would have a very more wide view view of the world. I'm not
Mhm.
talking about Chinese specifically, but even Brazilians, if you get an average Brazilian, they will not have a wider view of the world. And I was talking to him, and I was saying to him, well, he asked me, and I was like, I'm Brazilian. And he was like, Brazil? Where is Brazil? And I was like, it's not very hard to find on the map. It's quite a big country.
It's a big country, yeah.
It's like the B on that five-letter word called BRICS. So
Yeah.
I believe you should know about that. But it's so yeah. I've seen this, also to the Brazilians, that they have no idea about the China as it is today. They had this view, from Hollywood of China, and there should be more interactions, culture interactions. So, good business plan for Brazilian people: open a caipirinha bar in Beijing
I
and
will be
send
there every day.
write the address. I'll send to Li Jingjing. I promise. Very. I really I saw your video. I shared your video. Doing the dancing
Hmm.
contests. It was very nice. I could see, it's one thing that I'm proud of Brazil. We are very welcoming to anyone. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. We just
yeah.
usually welcoming to people. Rio de Janeiro, especially. I'm from there, so I'm
Hmm.
suspicious. But Rio de Janeiro is also a very welcoming city. Has its problems. I'm not. I'm not cleaning everything there. We are fault, but
Well, I do want to say, because you and several other Brazilian friends told me that before I go there, like, just watch out about your safety. Don't walk and watch your phones on the road, because that's what we do in China. Like, we always walk on the road at our phones. Our friends warn us, like, be careful with your belongings, because they worry about the safety. But I still feel, because I also went to San Francisco the year before last year. I feel San Francisco is way scarier than Rio.
yeah, but
Honestly.
that's not fair. You're talking about the United States. That place sucks.
So, so I was like,
It's
why was
like
in Rio?
saying, yeah,
This is okay.
Rio de Janeiro is safer than, I don't know, Ukraine now. That's not fair. San Francisco is not fair. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's well, yeah, of course it was a special moment. There were leaders everywhere, so there was some order being put in place. Nonetheless, I always write to people to be careful, not feel too comfortable there, but it's all right.
Yeah, I think that's important, especially for Chinese people, because in general, China's safety is really high, especially in big cities. And living here for so long, we got used to this level of safety that almost no other countries have. Maybe some North European countries, like super rich North European, like Switzerland or Norway, you can also have that kind of safety and trust in the public. But here in China, especially in recent years, because with the economic growth, you see the safety of the entire society is growing as well. We have been got used to the stability in the past 5, 6, or 10 years. So we lower our guards for a really long time. And I was warned by a lot of friends from different countries, literally, either from Europe, North America, South America, to keep warning us, take your bags with you. This is not China. Or bring a laptop with you. This is not China. Because we got used to just leave our stuff there, and ours, after we come back, our stuff will still be there. So, but I kind of understand. But that kind of safety and the crimes and the theft existed in China when I was a kid. Maybe not even when I was a kid. Just when I was in college, when I was in my 20s, early 20s, 19 or 20s. we also have that same level of theft and crimes in the society. We didn't have so much stability in the society, say 15 years ago. All the safety issues, all the tourist YouTubers have praised China about in their videos, only happened in the recent, say, 15 to 20 years. And the past 15 to 20 years is the fastest growing period for China's economy. So that means when you develop economy, when everybody, average citizens, economic level or material reality is getting better and better, there's no reason to commit crimes. There are no reason to steal from other people. And also, China's government also put a lot of effort in cracking down crimes as well. You don't see homeless people from the economic development, but also the society is taking care of the people, taking care of it. So there are no slums in Chinese cities, and they are, how to say. So a lot of Westerners will complain about the CCTV cameras in China. Everywhere they go, they say, "Oh, well, there's a CCTV camera. Is that a surveillance state?" But as a woman living in China, I can tell you, all of us love the CCTV camera, because as a woman, we can walk alone at night. We don't need any man to send us home. I can party or visit my friends or at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and just walk by myself. Nothing bad would happen to me. So, of course, so it's like, because of their CCTV camera, if anyone wants to commit a crime, the police will immediately catch them. They can trace them. So that brings safety to the society, the stability to the society. So sometimes when Westerners came here, so, oh, where are there like surveillance camera? And I will ask them, what are you up to? Do you want to commit crimes? If you're up to no bad things, why are you afraid of cameras? So there are a lot of things. I think China's development experience can be shared with other countries. So I'm sure as when countries like Brazil or any other global south countries, when they solve the economic issue, when they solve the poverty issue, they will have the same level of security or economy and technology. I'm quite confident that it will happen.
Yes, this is a important aspect that you just mentioned. You know that here in Italy, for example, CCTV cameras are, is quite tricky, because you cannot just simply install cameras like that because of privacy and stuff like that. So people have the right of privacy. I understand. It's all right. But public places, we also have the right of security and safety.
Yeah, yeah.
I, I'm totally pro this kind of stuff, and I see other places as well, as for example in the United States, you have the CCTV cameras, and it's dangerous there. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
But I'm totally pro on that. That's fun. That's very good initiative, and I really wish it's awesome point that you made, that 20 years ago that's not like that. This is a point that I always make in the channel. China, yeah, it was on a growing process, but 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was not the huge economic powerhouse, technological powerhouse that it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Even putting Russia here, 1999, it had crushed the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And today they are doing all right. They are doing fine.
Yeah.
We could do. Brazil has not crashed the economy. Brazil, it was halfway industrialized. We could do the same in perhaps the same period or half of the period with the will. We should.
Mm-hmm.
We really should. So since we were in on the G20 meeting, That was a long time ago already, but already there was some big moves in diplomatic relations between Brazil and China. And just recently we had the BRICS summit as well in Rio de Janeiro, and you
Mhm.
missed it. You should have gone again. You saw there was a lot of caipirinhas waiting for you.
Yeah.
And again, we see developments on relations between China and Brazil. Plus, we have now the big gift from the world to the global south, which is Donald Trump, that put tariffs on Brazil and gave Brazil the chance to free itself a little bit more from the United States and approaching even more diplomatic to China. How do you see this diplomatic economic cooperation increase, and how do you, well, of course we're not talking about futurology, but how do you imagine that this path is going forward?
Mm.
just
Um,
just before you start, I just recently saw a post from one of the Chinese spokesperson on X, and this woman, she was just saying, Brazilian Chinese relations, it's in all height from all times, and this is really amazing to me.
mm. Yeah, it is. So G20 was last year, last November, and I know it's a long time ago, but our leaders have met several times after that as well. So earlier this year in April, April or May, Lula came to China, paid a state visit to China as well. President Xi Jinping also visited BRICS banks, met with Dilma Rousseff. So there are a lot of high-level meetings between our two countries ever since G20 last year in November. And even during the G20, when Chinese President Xi Jinping paid a state visit to Brazil, there are so many collaborations were signed. For example, I think our China and Brazil signed 37 acts 37 acts in the fields of agriculture, trade, investment, infrastructure, energy, mining, finance, science and technology, communication, sustainable development, tourism, sports, health, education. So basically every field. So there will be a lot
Everywhere.
of cooperation like AI, sustainable development. Yeah, so that's the achievement we reached last year. And I think the leaders constantly meet ever since that. Shows how much dedication they put into this cooperation. They try to see how this cooperation goes to make sure can be implemented. And I think I want to bring what President Xi said when he was in Brazil during the G20. He said something about the role of China and Brazil in the world stage. And quote, this is what he said: as the two largest developing countries in their respective hemisphere, China and Brazil must proactively assume the great historical responsibility of safeguarding the common interests of the countries of the global south, promoting a more just and equitable international order. And we will deepen cooperation in priority areas such as economy and trade, finance, science and technology, infrastructure, and environmental production, and strengthen cooperation in emerging areas such as energy transition, digital economy, artificial interaction, and green mining. End quote. So it's very clear. I think both leaders see China and Brazil's role in pushing for this new global order. And I know during the G20, Lula also announced this. What's the name of this project? The Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. Right,
Yes.
right. So it shows Lula and Brazil's dedication in tackling poverty, and Chinese president showed full support to this program. And I remember during that time, during his President Xi's speech, he said something. I mean, China's battle against China's success of lifting 800 million people out of extreme poverty shows, this battle against poverty can be done. If China can do it, then other developing countries can do it too. This is the message, China's win over poverty to the rest of the world. So I think this is a very common goal between China and Brazil, besides making the world more equitable, just, fairer, and also we want to tackle poverty. So this is a good sign. These are all the results coming out of the two leaders meeting. And our two countries has been each other's top trade partner for a long time. I think in 2023, bilateral trade reached about 157 billion US dollars. So I think China is probably, if not the number one, probably one of the leading trade partners
It's
for
the leading.
Brazil. It's
It's
the
the
leading,
leading.
right? It's the leading. And
On both sides.
yeah. So there's a lot of cooperation. So that shows the positive trends between China. It is all-time high. So I do, like I said in the beginning, I do encourage a lot of Brazilians to come to China to visit, to travel, to study, to live. And I think from the official level, it's totally open-minded and friendly, and they want to bring China and Brazil closer than ever. But of course, we have such a long distance geographically apart. It's not that easy. So I do encourage more people to travel to each other's countries, so to make sure our people, like on people's level, we can understand each other better. Like I mentioned, I feel like government level, they understand each other, support each other totally. And for people's level, we need more people to people exchanges. We need more cultural exchange to understand. When I go to Brazil, actually, I find out many common Brazilian people don't know much about China either. Like I know common Chinese people don't know much about Brazil, and the common Brazilians don't know much about Chinese people either. So we need that kind of people to people exchanges to make sure our peoples understand each other. So that's something we need to do. We, as the people of the two countries, need to do. And I think there are a lot of opportunities. For example, many top universities in China are open to international students. Either you want to do undergraduate, postgraduate, there are a lot of universities. I think Tsinghua University, one of the top universities in China, they have a program specifically targeting Latin American countries, I think. But you can look it up. And I do see a lot of students from different Latin American countries are coming to China to study, to pursue a degree. So maybe that's something our viewers want to try in the future if they're interested in pursuing another degree. If not, you can do a business here. I do want to mention, like a few months
Caipirinha
ago,
bar. Don't forget Caipirinha bar in China.
yes, that's very crucial. Make sure you open that in Beijing, please. Yes. And I do want to mention, because during the tariff war, I did a field trip to another Chinese city to investigate how the Chinese suppliers are doing. Are they being impacted by the US tariffs? So I went to the city called Yiwu. Yiwu basically is the supermarket for the whole world. Everything and every small commodities you buy from Europe, Latin America, Africa, they are all coming from this one Chinese city. Be it
Including
like
Labubu.
Labu is a different thing though. Labu is a different thing. Maybe it's because of that company. But yeah. But like say all the, I guess how to say, basically all the stuff you see at the supermarket. Or maybe it's your socks, your toys, maybe it's the buttons on your shirt. So basically all the small communities coming from this one city. And in that city, there are so many people doing international trade, and they are from every country. I met Congolese, I met a lot of Latin American countries, but like people doing business in China for 80 years or 10 years, and they have their own companies. They set up their own companies in China because in that city it's just so easy to do business. So yeah, that's something maybe you can do if you're interested in moving to China. So there are many opportunities, many options. So but my message is we do need this human to human communications.
Yes, yes. This I don't know how if China, when I say China, I say the government of China understands, for example, that Latin America is extremely influenced by Hollywood and the United States.
Mm, mm,
And living in Europe, as a Brazilian living in Europe, I can see the difference. You know, even Europe is not that influenced by the North American soft power. It's needed not as the United States do, as a weapon of, um, brainwashing people, but is
mm,
needed as a counter weapon against brainwashed people. People
mm,
just don't understand China,
mm,
mostly because they have no idea what China is
mhm,
right now. The picture that they have is from, I don't know, 1970 or even
mhm,
before that. So they simply do not understand. It's hard to explain to someone that China is a very rich country today,
mm,
where safe country, as you said. You have all kinds of things, a technological powerhouse, energy powerhouse, all that. People say, nah, they plant rice. That's the it's it's very hard to talk to someone in
yeah.
general, a Brazilian, because they don't understand. It's very important, this exchange. Jingjing,
Mhm,
we I would very much like that we talk about, which would be the main subject for today, which is the World War II and the beginning of the World War II, because we in the West, again, influenced by the Western soft power. We understand World War II starting, when the mustache guy invaded Poland, but there was a lot of things going on already for years in Asia. Can you please, and you do a fantastic documentary work on that. I always call people, go to Jingjing underscore Li at YouTube. Watch her videos, are fantastic. Can you please tell us how is it taught in China, the beginning of World War II? How do you consider? What do you consider the trigger of World War II?
mm,
And what don't we know? Because we don't
mm,
know. Most of
mm.
us don't know about
Thank you
World War
so
II
much
in
for
Asia.
thank you so much for bringing this topic because that's very important for all Chinese people. So why are we talking about World War II again, like this year? I think this is a particularly interesting time to talk about the world anti-fascist war, which is the World War II. Many understand. I think there's a trend of growing fascism in different parts of the world. And I recently watched a very popular debate on Jubilee on YouTube. A lot of young Americans proudly, openly saying, "Yeah, I'm a fascist." And the entire crowd was like, the crowd, other young Americans even applauding him. So the World War II ended just like 80 years ago, not that long time ago. But now I feel like the young generation don't know what happened. The worst war that caused great like human casualties. And now there are young people openly calling themselves fascist, and there are countries continue to carrying out fascism to massacre other group of people. So it's very important to shine a light on the history, why United Nations was built. United Nations was a creation after World War II, and the five permanent members were the allies were the winners during World War II. So it's important to look back what human went through during the darkest time. And I talked to a lot of Western influencers, Western people, and all of them said, well, we all know 6 million Jews died during World War II. We all know what Hitler did. We all know this and that. And all their knowledge is only focused on Western countries. But they don't know that seems like a lot of them don't know the World War II happened in the Eastern battlefield in Asia too, particularly in China. And many Westerners consider World War II started when like Poland got struck, but actually the World War II started 8 years before that. But it started in China because Japan was also a fascist forces. Their military forces invaded China, took 3 provinces, northeastern part of China, installed a puppet regime, and then that was in 1931. So the World War II for Chinese people started in 1931 when Japanese fascists invaded northeast China and installed a puppet regime. And then from 1937, they launched the full-scale invasion violently. A lot of Westerners know Holocaust. 6 million Jews died in the World War II. But during the entire World War II, 35 million military and civilians casualties happened in China. 35 million military and civilians, and most Westerners have no idea about the history. And I also hear a lot of Westerners saying, so what, we don't know. I'm sure a lot of you don't know what happened in Africa, what happened in Latin America. But the thing is, World War II, I mean, what happened in Europe and what happened in Asia happened at the same time. It's the same like war, same we are, and the United States and several like Western countries, we were allies to fight against fascists. You were fighting in Europe, and we were fighting here in Asia, and we caused huge casualties. So, and that's how we founded the United Nations after World War II. But okay, so even also there was, I want to say, some of the worst atrocities, war crimes, human experimentations took place in China. Maybe our Western audience can understand the human experiment on Jews during the Holocaust, what the horrible things Hitler did. So Japanese fascists did similar, if not worse, human experiment in China. So there were so many massacres took place all across China. In the city Nanjing, they wiped out 300,000 people in this one city. They don't just kill. They tortured everybody, tortured babies. They raped almost every woman in that city. They killed everyone. And there were Japanese fascist soldiers they were doing some sick competitions. For example, like 2 Japanese soldiers were in a beheading competition to compete who behead 100 people in the shortest time, and they lost count. So how about we compete like how we can behead 200 Chinese people in the shortest time. So that's one of the competitions. They also use machine gun to wipe out anybody in that city, in the river. The whole river in the city was basically is red, in the color of blood. That's some of the worst happened in one city, and similar massacres happened all across China. In northeast China, Japanese fascist forces installed a biological weapon called Unit 731. It's a unit that launched biological warfare and doing experiment on humans. So like why Chinese people love drinking hot water. A lot of Westerners say, oh, Chinese people love drinking hot water. Everywhere they go, they carry a thermal cup and carrying hot water. Why is that? Because our waters in the well, in the river, were intentionally contaminated by the Japanese fascist forces. They dump all the germs, bacteria in the waters. And so the villagers had to boil the water to kill all the germs. So that's a habit being passed down by generations by our grandparents. So that's one of the reasons, because our waters were contaminated by the Japanese fascist forces and used the biological weapons. They massacred many cities, Chinese cities and villages. And they also, Japanese fascist forces not just hurt China, they hurt many Asian countries. For example, they invaded Korea and they kidnapped women from China, from Korea, from Russia, from Philippines, Vietnam, Singapore to be the sex slaves for the Japanese military soldiers. I mean, I can name countless horrible crimes committed by Japanese fascist forces, and Chinese people fought for 14 years to defeat the Japanese fascist forces. So why are we bringing this history again? Well, I think in Germany to this day, still everybody feels bad what they did to the Jews. They have a memorial hall to commemorate the Holocaust. Everyone in Europe, basically the Germans tell everyone, imprinted that horrible history into every German kid's brain to make sure you never repeat that again. The entire Europe keep repeating that history, what happened to Jews, what Germany did to make sure that it won't happen again. But why are we talking about Japan's crimes 80 years later? Because to this day, Japanese fascist forces still haven't apologized. They denied all these crimes they did, even though those crimes were documented by photos, by videos, by testimonies of the U.S. preachers or European preachers who lived in China during that day. But to this day, they never apologized to what they did to China. They never apologized to the sex slaves. They denied their crimes, like the biological warfare. So that's why we keep telling people, like Chinese people, and not just Chinese people, Korean people, Singaporeans, ask any people in these Asian countries, all the people know what happened, and they keep telling their kids to make sure that won't happen again. And I assure you, in Japan, the fascist forces are trying to bring back that spirit again, because they revised their textbooks. They erased their horrible history from their textbooks. So young Japanese kids don't know what happened during World War II. They have no idea what their ancestors did during World War II. They just think Chinese people hate the Japanese people for no reason. No, like many of our grandparents they are survivors of the Holocaust in the East. So, and now we're seeing this trend of growing fascism in the world again. So it's important that we remind everybody we should not repeat these horrible crimes again. And it's not about to teach people to hate another group of people. It's just like that happened just 80 years ago, and it's important that we remember, don't let this repeat. And I do want to bring people's attention to a big events that are going to happen in China in just a few weeks, because China already announced that on September the 3rd, there will be a grand military parade to commemorate the victory of the World Anti-Fascism War and the victory of Chinese people's war of resistance against Japanese aggression. And it will take place on September 3rd at Tiananmen Square in Beijing. It will be broadcasted to the whole world. And also, I think maybe some international leaders will come here to see it again. And many of the veterans will be there to witness that. It's an important moment, not just for China, it's also for important moment for all the people who fought in the World War II, for all those people who fought in the World Anti-Fascism War. So And there's
Yeah,
some movies
no,
about it. You can watch that in the movie.
yeah, of course. It's extremely important. I tried to keep myself because I had so many things to say, but I tried to keep myself as much as possible here because this is. You mentioned Germany. They imprint this guilt on people because it's not exactly. It's funny because they understand this, but it's not a sense of guilt against what happened. The whole picture is, oh, we were bad to the Jews, and now we see Israel doing the most horrible things in Gaza, and everyone's silent. Germany is okay. No, we're not supposed to talk about that. So I don't think they really understood that. And when you mention that Japan, and we see fascist forces rising, we see here in Italy small movements, still small
Mm,
right now. We see
wow.
every now and then it pops out some videos of people, just as you mentioned, just yesterday I was watching some, actual Nazi parade in the United States. It was a couple of
Hmm.
dudes. Yeah, people will
Hmm.
say, yeah, that's 10 crazy dudes. But yeah, 10 crazy dudes today, 20 in another region, 35 here. In no time we're up to 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 100,000. We have a war. We have
Mm,
massacres going on. I don't know.
yeah.
This memory, not only the memory but the knowledge. We not only learn wrong in Brazil. The Brazilian history class, and I'm I'm 44. I gave up my age already, so I'll just say it. I'm 44. I learned in school. I didn't learn anything about Asia or Africa, for that matter. I learned in school that yeah, World War II, started to end when the United States forces drop on Normandy. That's not true. You know, I'm 44 now. I can read books. Back at that time, perhaps I was too lazy, but now I can read books. This is not true. Even in the Western side of the things, it's not true already. And we completely ignore the eastern side of the war, which is the main side of the war. Because we're talking
Yeah.
about China, we're talking about Russia, we're talking about India. India
Yeah.
suffered a lot with that as well,
Yeah,
fighting
and
for the
also
British.
one point I want to bring on is why the war, Chinese people's resistance is important. We fought for 14 years because China tied down the majority of Japanese forces because the fascist allies' plan was to, uh, Germany, Italy attack Soviet Union from the west, and Japan to attack Soviet Union from the east, and eventually they want to meet up in the Middle East. But because China tied them down, they didn't successfully go to meet in the Middle East, and also China's forces also stopped Japanese forces to further go to the Pacific. So if China soldiers and civilians didn't fight with the Japanese fascist forces, then Japanese fascist forces will further go to the south to take India, Australia. So, but because of Chinese soldiers and civilians are quite resilient, they tie down the majority of the Japanese forces, though they couldn't do all that. So it stopped the war from going like even worse. Otherwise, the fascist allies will take up its entire Asia Pacific or probably even West Asia.
For a matter of perspective, because now thinking, I was just thinking here, China is 1.5 billion people. How could they not, easily take down the Japanese? But that was not the case in the early 1900s. What was the population of China back on 1930? It was about
Mm.
300 million, something like that. No?
I don't know the exact number, but it was, of course, less population. But also, it was during probably the worst time of China in history, because China, it was during the Republic of China when KMT, Kuomintang, was the ruling party of China. And the KMT back then and there was very corrupted. That after the loss, that's why after the loss to CPC, they fled to Taiwan. So and also China during that time, China just overthrew the Qing dynasty, the feudal system, and they tried to after the okay, so they know the feudalism is not the way. Then what's the best new government form? What's the new best system for China? And during that time, China tried many things, like KMT, who founded the Republic of China, was one way, and also there are different warlords trying to govern China, but they are also ruthless and they were not for the people. They're not with the people either. So it was during a turbulent area of China when different the ruling elites are trying different forms of government to lead China ahead. But unfortunately, none of the leaders back then was qualified enough. They were only taking all the wealth to themselves. Don't care about the majority of Chinese people. So yeah, so unfortunately, that was a bad time for China. That's why like the CPC, the Communist Party of China, was also emerging during that time, but they were trying to challenge the KMT, the ruling party of Republic of China. So this Communist Party of China represents the working class, the common people, workers, farmers, who were the majority of Chinese people back then. So they were fighting with each other. There's a civil war, but because of the Japanese invasion, the CPC forced and convinced KMT, you know what? We have a foreign invader, we have a foreign army that want to take up our country. We should put aside our differences. Let's unite and defeat foreign invaders first and then settle our differences. So that's what happened. That's how China defeated the Japanese fascists, because the CPC successfully convinced and united KMT. They joined the forces. They both suffered a lot of losses with their soldiers, so they defeated the Japanese fascist forces. So after they defeated Japanese fascist forces, there was a civil war. They started to settle like who should be the real governor of China. And CPC won, and KMT fled to Taiwan, and led to the unresolved issue between the Chinese mainland and the Taiwan island. So that's the history lesson during that period in a nutshell. And the World War II. So,
Yeah.
because that's why Taiwan, the reunification between Chinese mainland and Taiwan Island is also important to Chinese people nowadays, because Taiwan Island was the unresolved issue of the World War II. Taiwan Island used to be colonized by Dutch, by Japanese, but after the Japanese surrendered, they agreed to return the Taiwan Island to China. But because of KMT, because of the civil war, the KMT fled to Taiwan. They said, no, we are the legitimate Chinese government. But the world recognized CPC is the legitimate governor of China. So Taiwan is the unresolved issue of the World War II. That's why we need to solve it. And that's also why we need to commemorate our victory over the fascist.
Yeah, we should take this as a big lesson, because right now we're not a civil war in Brazil, at least now, but we have a very polarized system in Brazil. So one thing that I always praise, okay, let's get the common ground, everybody, and work together. When things are working, then we kill each other to decide who's going to rule it. But right now, let's just make things work, and that's the takeout from here, I believe. That's in the middle of a civil conflict, let's put everything aside. Let's fight the enemy. And right now we do have a common enemy. Let's fight the common enemy. Then we go back to our own massacre. That's different stuff.
Yeah.
But we have agreed that we should stay for about an hour. How is your time? Because I would like to. ask one more question.
One more question.
Yes, you're
Okay.
tied. If you want to finish, we can just arrange for another time.
Maybe one more question.
Okay, because you just mentioned this September 3 parade, which will happen also the Shanghai Cooperation. Well, first of all, well done, Tiananmen Square. This is going to be very good, very, very impacted for the Western. Uh, you mentioned Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and it seems that this year President Modi from India will come to China after 7 years. These are rumors, as it look. But just yesterday, he met with Wang Yi, and he praised China as a great business partner, as a great partner, as again as a all times high diplomatic relations. So, what do you think is the expectations for that, and how do you think the relations China India are developing at the moment? And I think this is very important for BRICS.
I think besides the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, I think it's also important we need to bring up the BRICS, because BRICS or SCO, they are all regional cooperation mechanisms. So Shanghai Cooperation Organization is more about Asia, Middle Asia, West Asia cooperation. So it's very interesting what you mentioned about India. It feels like we see what the United States is doing. US has been trying hard to divide China and India. US is trying hard to divide China and Vietnam. They want to divide China and Brazil. And Donald Trump, I think when he took office, he even threatened BRICS countries with 100% tariffs, because Trump in a speech openly said BRICS is bad for America because they want to de-dollarize, they want to counter the United States. So Trump openly said they want to break BRICS apart. It's very funny, like whatever he's doing is achieving the opposite effect. Because let's look at what happened in the past few months. The US imposed 50% tariffs on Brazil. That's a big number, like a really big number, 50% tariffs on Brazil. And Trump also imposed 50% tariffs on Vietnam. Like what Vietnam do to deserve such a huge tariff, right? So, and like he also threatened India with big tariffs. And honestly, Vietnam and India were basically friends with the United States. Like if they want to impose 50% on China, kind of understand, because they see China as a rival. But why Vietnam and India? They were your allies. So, and let's look what happened after that. Like Brazil, like Lula openly said in many speeches, like BRICS and is a global South-led organization. We want to push for a fairer global order, and like China and India and China Vietnam used to have some disputes, or like China and India had some conflicts. So if they want to divide China and India, and maybe they could stir the differences. But look what happened. Just today is dominating the world headlines because our foreign minister Wang Yi visited India, met with Indian foreign minister, met with Modi, and all the messages coming from the Indian side are very friendly. Both China and India agreed to promote closer ties. Both sides agreed to resolve the border conflicts peacefully, and they even issued a 10-point consensus today. And Modi, what you mentioned is Modi made a post on his Twitter, on his X account, and Modi posted the photo of him shaking hands with Wang Yi, and said he's had a very friendly chat with Chinese foreign minister, and both sides want to have a steady, friendly cooperation, which is in the interest of China and India. And Modi said he's very looking forward to continue the dialogue when he visit Tianjin later this month. Tianjin is a city just nearby Beijing. The city will host the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting. So that's what Modi said. I mean, all the messages from India suddenly became very friendly towards China. So U.S. tariffs are pushing China and India to get closer and closer. And the U.S. tried to divide China and Vietnam, but just in April, Chinese president also paid a state visit to Vietnam. When Trump launched this global tariff war, Chinese president paid a state visit to Vietnam and also Malaysia and Cambodia. And China and Vietnam also launched a lot of cooperation. So they are pushing China and Vietnam to get closer. So all these countries, like Trump wants to divide BRICS, but seems like all his efforts are achieving the opposite effect. So don't you see this is such a good comedy? Like that's why you need to do a stand-up, right?
We do. Every time Trump open his mouth, at the end I hear boom.
Yes.
It's just
But I
absolutely
think
necessary.
Yeah, but like it's bad news for the United States, but in general, it's a really positive information for global South countries because when global South countries unite, when global South countries see the true color of the United States of Donald Trump, they realize the U.S. is not a trustworthy partner, and global South countries need to have independent sovereignty and foreign policy to see what's really in their own interests. And when China and India and all these global South countries can settle our differences peacefully and unite, well, we can change the global order. Because don't forget, the U.S. imperialism's grand strategy to keep his a superior position in the world. One strategy is divide and conquer. They divided West Asia for such a long time, stoke separatism, sponsored terrorism to keep that region separated. They also did that in the Pacific region. They did that in many regions. So when we fight with each other, they will remain their hegemony. So it's time we recognize that. And global South countries, BRICS, is not a China-led program. BRICS is a global South-led mechanism. And we need to push forward this regional cooperation mechanisms to push forward new global order. And Vietnam also joined BRICS as a partner country when BRICS took place in Brazil. So see, like the US imposed 50% tariffs on Vietnam. Vietnam joins BRICS. That makes BRICS expanded to Southeast Asia. So that's great news for global South countries. So I think it's time for global South countries to join hands to work together, and because only by that we can escape the trap that these Western countries has put us in. We can get out of the trap. The trap is they keep all the global South countries at the bottom of the global value chain. And so we over the past few decades, global South countries were the bloodbed for Western countries. We provided the natural resources, the cheap material, the raw materials, which were cheap in prices, and then they sell us the high value added prices, so we can never outcompete them. And they also use brain drain our countries, use the labor. So basically, the global South countries have been the bloodbath for all these Western powers. So if we want to change that, if we want to get our own people out of poverty, if we want to have the same say in the world stage, we want the same rights to develop, we need to join hands to work together. So SCO, BRICS, all this mechanism, and CELAC, all these regional mechanisms are important for us. And the SCO meeting will take place at the end of August in China, right before the military parade. And several Western leaders will come here. Modi himself it's basically shows he wants to come here. On his Twitter, that's a sign. So who will be attending the event has not been announced yet. We'll wait for more information, but I think that's some major events that worth your attention.
Of course. And I'll be paying a lot of attention to it. This is one of the top-notch events of the world right now. Jingjing, thank you very much for coming again. And this is always a fantastic opportunity to, pick a little bit of your mind, which is amazing. Everybody, I will remind you that all the links of Li Jingjing are on the description. Don't miss the stand-up. Don't miss the stand-up. It's amazing. It's so funny. It's so funny. And join her channels on Twitter. Well, it's not Twitter anymore. On Shitter, on Instagram. You have TikTok?
Yes, I'm on TikTok.
Okay, I will follow you on TikTok as well, and on YouTube. Do you have a link tree or a place? Yeah, you have a Substack. Also, the Substack will be
Yes,
here.
yes.
Have a Substack. And even a Reddit, but I don't think people go to Reddit that much. I don't know. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps I don't go to Reddit. That's right. Jingjing, thank you very much. That was a fantastic conversation. I hope to see you again soon. And everybody, like, share, subscribe the channels. Follow her, follow me if you don't know the channels. And see you guys next time. See you, Jingjing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Thank you. See you.
Cheers.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye. Bye bye.